I'm going to tell you why the Rams will not lose to the Chicago Bears. And I'm going to tell you why the Los Angeles Rams are going to beat the Bears and advance to the NFC Championship game. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
You are Locked On Rams, your daily Los Angeles Rams podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Ramley, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Rams, your daily podcast covering your Los Angeles Rams. Free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network. Now the #1 sports podcast network, your team every day. We're also available over on YouTube. If you haven't yet, we've got a lot of new viewers and listeners this week. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell if you want to support every episode. Hit the like button, drop a comment down below. And podcast listeners, write us a review or read on the show. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. I've covered LA sports for over a decade, 24/7 sports, Bleacher Report, SI, Dodgers Nation. As always, I'm joined by the Rams pre-half and post-game show host for the Rams flagship radio station, ESPN 710 LA. He's in his 11th season covering your Los Angeles Rams, the People's Champ, Mr. Travis Rogers. You can follow him on X at Travis Rogers. And on today's episode, it's a football Friday, a super football Friday here as the Rams lead in the divisional round against the Bears. What are the biggest keys to victory? What are the advantages that the Rams have? We'll talk some injury updates too. But first, today's episode of Locked On Rams is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. All right, Travis. So Sunday,
Kyle Tucker. There, I just wanted to get it out of the way. There, we're done. The Dodgers got Kyle Tucker. We checked our box for our Dodger reference. Now go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Hey, you know what? There's a connection there. He played in Chicago last year. The Dodgers are playing in the Rams are playing Chicago this Sunday. So there's our way to segue into this matchup. Now, Travis, first thing, I mean, there's the storyline with this one's kind of funny to me with the whole weather thing. I mean, like we talked about it early on the show. How big of a factor do you think it's going to be? I look at it this way. This is how I look at it. I mean, it's pointless to bring up Sean McVay's record in weather. I think it's a little more relevant to bring up Matthew Stafford's record in weather. But the bottom line is both these teams are dealing with the same conditions, and the Rams have a dynamic offense that you can use multiple tight ends. You can lean on a run game with Kyren Williams and Blake Corum. You've got Devontae Adams, who's an experienced receiver who played his career in Green Bay. You got a big physical receiver in Puka Nacua. I think the Rams have, not like you need any additional motivation to win the playoffs, but I think there's just maybe a tiny little chip on their shoulder here, and all these people like, oh, this LA West Coast palm trees and ocean teams coming to Big Bag Soldier Field. Can they win in the cold? I think that gives the Rams maybe a little bit of an edge there.
Okay, I think there are two things. I generally agree with you. I think that you're right, but I think there are two things. I don't think that the Rams are afraid of playing in the cold. I don't think that they're reluctant participants having to go in and play in an environment like Chicago. But I will say, until the game starts and they look like they're comfortable in it, I think it's a fair question to ask. I think that trying to see how a team that plays, its games in California, in Los Angeles, in Arizona, in San Francisco, Seattle's a little colder than some of the other NFC West cities, but still it's not Chicago, and it's certainly not Chicago in the middle of January. So I think it is a fair question, but I agree with you. They have a lot of guys that are going to, I think, mitigate some of the weather. Most importantly, what you said is they have two running backs that can play in cold weather. They've got two guys that went to college in cold weather places that are at running back at Notre Dame and at Michigan. So this is not unfamiliar to them. They've got a physical wide receiver. Puka Nacua could play in a blizzard. I don't think it's going to make much of a difference to him. He's a really tough guy. Devontae, you mentioned before. They've got big tight ends. They've got, if this were a team that played inside, that just chuck it. Now they chuck it a lot, but they're not exclusively a through-the-air team. They can run. They had one of the better running attacks in the league all season long. I think they are built to play in any kind of weather. So I'm optimistic that they're going to go in there and be pretty good. But I do think it's fair to ask that when a team that plays inside, which SoFi basically is, or from a warm weather city, which Los Angeles certainly is, to go into when it's good. I mean, it could be single digits. It could be snowing. I think that is something that they're not used to. And I think it's a fair question to ask going into the game.
And like I said, when you talk about Matthew Stafford in games that are under 40-degree weather, he's 7-11, and you kind of dip lower than that, he's 1-9 in cold weather, rainy or snowy conditions since he joined the Rams, where the temperature falls between 20 degrees. I mean, the completion percentage certainly drops. You look at his time with the Detroit Lions, I think that helps. I just think that was more of a relevant narrative when you had Jared Goff, just because Jared Goff grew up in California, played with the Rams. I think he just had less experience in that game. So, yeah, I mean, I agree with you that. Like, let's see just how bad it is. Like, let's just see, like, is it one of those games where it's like you can't even see the TV? It's one of those games where there's like 4 fumbles on the same play. Like, we've seen those games before. And the truth is that the Rams are at their best when there's an explosive passing game element to it, right? So that really takes away what the Rams do. As good as Blake Corum and Kyren Williams are, if you load the box against them and you're not going to feature the dynamic receivers and tight ends that the Rams have, that definitely doesn't play to their strengths.
Yeah, I look, it's a factor. I just don't know until the game starts how much of a factor it's going to be. They're going to be bundled up. They're going to say all the right things. I don't think that Matthew Stafford, when he goes home at night and is thinking his most private thoughts is, oh my gosh, it's going to be really cold. I don't know if I'm going to play well. I don't think that thought goes through his head for a single second. It doesn't mean it won't happen. Like, he could go out there and it could be 5 degrees and windy. And as great of a talent as Matthew Stafford is, and to try to throw that ball through the air, it may affect the ball. Same thing for Caleb Williams. But I think that until you see it, I think it's just one of those unknowns. If they go out there and they look pretty good in the first drive or two, then I don't think it's a factor at all. I think they'll settle in. I think it'll become more or less a traditional football game. But if they do get off to a slow start, if they do have trouble moving the ball, especially if they have trouble moving the ball through the air, I think it's one of those things like, hey, are we not moving the ball through the air because it's cold, or are we just not calling the right plays, or guys not running the right routes, or the throw's not where they're supposed to be? I just think that stuff builds on top of itself the longer you struggle. But if they come out and get off to a good start, I really don't think it's going to be much of an. And I think you bring up a great point in Devontae. Devontae feels like a Ferrari that you don't drive in the snow just because of the way that he plays and as talented as he is. But that dude killed it in Green Bay for a long time. This is not the first time he's walking into a cold environment.
Exactly. That's the big talking point on my end too. I mean, like I think the thing with Matthew Stafford, I try to find every single stat to convince myself one way or the other. He's 3-3 in games where it's 30 degrees or below. But I mean, here's the thing. What I know about Matthew Stafford is he's tough, right?
Yes.
He can play through injuries. He can play through cold weather. Jared Goff wasn't that guy, right? And there's a lot of quarterbacks that aren't that guy. So I have full confidence in Matthew Stafford, but also you go deeper than that. As you mentioned, Devontae Adams playing with the Packers. You can go Alec Jackson playing his college football at Iowa. Who are the running backs? Blake Corum and Kyren Williams, Notre Dame in Michigan. I mean, these guys have played all around. And the truth of the matter is if the Rams weren't located in Los Angeles, if they were located in the Midwest, if they were a Kansas City Chiefs team, or if they're a New York Giants team, wherever it may be, a Jets team, this just would not be a talking point. I think the bigger question here is, does the Rams defense really limit Caleb Williams? And we're going to talk about that and why I think this is a Rams team that, even with the elements, they have a chance at a double-digit win. A double-digit win against the Bears. I know it doesn't seem like you agree with that.
No, I don't disagree necessarily. I'm still kind of going back and forth on whether or not I think the weather is going to affect it, because I think that if this game were played in LA, if this game were played inside, I think this game is probably played somewhere in the low 30s. I don't know if that game will be available to them in this kind of weather. We'll see. If it is, I think it favors the Rams quite a bit. I think that if the field is good, if they're able to kind of move the ball somewhat similar to what they're typically able to do, I do think there's a chance for the Rams to win. I don't know if comfortably is the right word, but I think to cover, shall we say. So I think that's a possibility. I just keep coming back to the Rams have not played 4 quarters of Rams football in a month and a half. It's just been a long time since they put it together. If they play the way they played from about week 5 to about week 12 or 13, I think they're going to win by double digits, like you said. If they play the way they've played for the last 5 weeks or so, I think it comes down to a kick. I think it comes down to a stop. I think it comes down to making one more play than the other guy. And that's the way playoff games typically go.
Yeah, and that's certainly a factor, right? I mean, special teams and weather, and Harrison Mevis, I think, still is in the process of earning our trust. And they had a punt block that led to a touchdown against the Panthers last week. But I just want to tie a bow and just kind of put it into that narrative because, look, we're in the era of like the lazy narrative era of sports media. And you see just these statistics on Matthew Stafford being regurgitated about his performance in cold weather. And the truth is that you take away the cold weather, if a playoff team is on the road, it usually means they're playing a better team that had a better record, and usually the road team loses that game. And the vast majority of those games for Matthew Stafford came when he was on the Detroit Lions, when they were one of the worst franchise all professional sports. So that's why that record is what it is.
This is why you may not have a career in sports media, Doug. You just added a great deal of context to an argument that usually we like to skip and not mention and just make our point without the facts getting in the way of what we want to say. So bad job by you for bringing important context to the topic at hand. But you're right. The reason that California teams going to the Midwest, it's because usually more than often than not, like you said, they are teams that had a worse record, that theoretically they are worse. Now, I don't think that's the case here. I think the Rams are a better team than Chicago, but maybe the weather is the thing that kind of neutralizes or I should say equalizes the playing field. But I don't care if they're playing in the cold. I don't care if they're playing in Honolulu. I don't care if they're playing in SoFi. They need to go in there and play well and win the game. And if they do, they will.
I do. And I learned that from you, man, for sure. I mean, hey, Kyle Tucker, man. All right. So coming up next, we got our keys to victory. Also, I want to get Travis's thoughts on Kevin Dotson wanting to get some get back. I'm so excited to have K-Dot back. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
Hey guys, the draft positions are set, and so a lot of teams are looking for their franchise quarterback. Have you ever wished to become a pro quarterback getting drafted first overall by your favorite team? Maybe it's the Rams, maybe it's somebody else. Well, now you can. There's a mobile game just for you called Ultimate QB Football Legend. In this game, you step into the cleats of a number one draft pick quarterback, and it's your job to lead your team to greatness, to help turn a failing franchise into a dynasty. This is the number one quarterback career mode game on mobile app stores, and it includes and introduces the most realistic environment with full career control. Sign contracts, train and upgrade yourself, build chemistry and evolve with your teammates, give input to your GM on roster moves, what up LeBron, play the actual games in 2D, and rise through the ranks to become a pro football legend. You'll deal with the ups and downs of a quarterback career, from nerves to playoff drama to every choice shaping your journey. Ultimate Quarterback is totally free to play, has no ads, and works 100% offline. Perfect for when you want to sneak in a quick game or two on the go. Just head over to ultimate-qb.com. That's ultimate-qb.com, or search for Ultimate QB in your app store. And we've got a little something special for you guys. Just use the promo code LOCKEDON, all caps, in the game store to get a free boost at the start of your career. Ultimate QB Football Legend. QB1. It is your legacy. And as the new year gets going, a lot of people are trying to simplify their routines, right? And dinner, that's a big one. Between work days, cold winter nights, other places, not here, and packed schedules, having an easy, reliable dinner plan makes a huge difference. That's where Home Chef comes in. Home Chef takes the stress out of cooking by delivering fresh, pre-portioned ingredients right to your door, easy to follow recipes that actually taste great. They're rated number one by users of other meal kits for quality, convenience, value, taste, recipe ease, and it's easy to see why, because meals come ready to fit in your schedule. 30-minute recipes, oven-ready trays, quick lunches. We're talking everything arrives pre-portioned, so there's less prep, less mess, and no wasted food. And for a limited time, Home Chef is offering our listeners, Locked On Rams listeners, 50% off your first box, free shipping, and free dessert for life. Just go to homechef.com/lockedon. That's homechef.com/lockedon for 50% off your first box, free shipping, and free dessert for life. You must be an active subscriber to receive the free dessert.
And we are off and running here on Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Also, another reminder to join the Locked On Rams Everydayers Club. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On Rams the #1 sports podcast network. And if you haven't already, go check out our new Everydayers Club. You get access to an ad-free audio feed for Locked On Rams. It's compatible with Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and every other major podcast app. An invite to the members-only Locked On Everydayer Club Discord server, which includes a group chat just for listeners of this show. And you can find me. I joined yesterday. I'm in the Discord. You can find me. My Discord name is Travis Rogers. So I'm really looking forward to interacting with all you Rams fans out there. I had a chat with Reed yesterday. I told Reed I'm going to sell this like Wolf of Wall Street style, right? On this show, right? I mean, sell me this pen, sell you this Everydayers Club, right? So, I mean, the cool thing though, just looking more about it, the Rams fans, the conversations they have, it's like, imagine if you basically, like, there's other people in the world, you know, when you go out, it's like you're talking to your friends or family, you try to talk about like something you really know about, and they don't know you know about that thing, so they'll like basically like say a headline, you're like, oh cool, like they're engaging with me on my favorite thing, and then you do it for 2 minutes and they say that like one thing wrong, and you're like, oh no, like we actually can't have this conversation, right?
That's when you go from this, hey, to this.
Exactly. Exactly, right?
That's what we're doing? Okay. But the good news is, at least at that point, you know, you don't have to talk to your friends or family because they don't know what they're talking about. You can just move on. That's why you got to be an everydayer, so you'll know what's up. Exactly.
They'll be like, yeah, you know, I think they'll be, the Bears have, can the Rams beat the Bears this week? I mean, how's Kurt Warner these days? They're like, you know, like, do you think he's going to throw for 3 touchdowns? You're like, oh no. So the point I'm bringing this up is, imagine having fans and people you could talk to about the Rams every day that love the team, that can talk about the team as well as you can. That's you guys in the Discord. So look for me, guys. It's a T-Raj, the People's Champ, and Sweet Tea. Those are my burner account. I have a burner account in the Discord too, so which is pretty cool.
There you go. Well, again, this I may be in there under a different one. When I did my crossover with Sully from Locked On MLB, he called me Travis the Tarantula Rogers. That's a new one for me. I'd never had that one before. So that's
Travis the Tarantula. Man, TT. I like it. I'm feeling that.
I liked it too. I hope
man of many nicknames. All right, well, let's jump back into this match. And by the way, if you do want to join the Everyday Listeners Club, it does really support us. It supports the show. It supports the channel. And you can go to the website to go check it out. It is the lockedonpodcast.com/podcast/locked/dash/on/Rams. Also, give you guys another one too. So yeah, definitely go and join that. I'll leave the info in the description. But all right, Travis, here in our second segment, getting back into the action of this game, I think the first thing I look at is who's going to win that battle in the trenches. Who is going to be able to run the football with relative efficiency and somewhat ease. And kind of the more you look at this Bears team, this is a Bears team that has been one of the worst in the NFL to get to this stage of the playoffs as far as their run defense. And we'll kind of talk about that. And that's just going to be a major factor in this one. Can you get Kevin Dotson back? And can you establish that run? And on top of everything else, if the run's working, does Sean McVay stay committed to it?
Well, okay, so let's take the second thing first. No, because he's Sean McVay. Sean McVay throws the ball. This is, I'm not saying it can't be frustrating at times. I'm not saying that you and I haven't talked about this for years on Locked On Rams. I'm not saying that the everydayers haven't heard this, that we want, dude, run the ball when it's working. Sean McVay is going to pass the ball. Sean McVay will always pass the ball. He will run the ball. He's a great coach. I don't think any of us are complaining about him on any major level, but there is a sense of frustration occasionally when the run game is working and then all of a sudden you see 3 pass plays in a row. It could be frustrating as well. I'll take the frustration because that comes with Sean McVay being a great coach. That being said, I do think that if, kind of going back to what we talked about in the last segment, if the weather becomes a big factor, if the wind is blowing like crazy, if it is challenging to move the ball through the air, I don't think that's anything other than an advantage for the Rams. I think that is something that, as weird as it sounds, like you would think the Bears would be the grind it out in the mud and the snow team. I think that's far more suited for what the Rams do than what the Bears do. Kevin Dotson coming back this week, I think helps that a great deal. He is arguably your best offensive lineman, your most physical offensive lineman. He's going to be in there doing what he's been doing all season long. The Bears are bad against the run. If the I think there's something like 27th or 28th in the whole league against the run. It's not something that they do particularly well. So I do think there's an opportunity for the Rams to go in there and exploit that. And if they can run the ball effectively and the Bears have to load up to try to stop that, that's when Matthew Stafford, that's when Sean McVay can just absolutely kill them with guys with Puka, with those 3 tight ends, with that 13 personnel, all of that stuff that we've come to become pretty familiar with. But I think if this becomes sloppy and it becomes difficult to move the ball through the air, I think that's actually a benefit for the Rams, not a disadvantage.
And that's why the weather is kind of this major character in this game, because when you just look at the raw numbers of this matchup, it'll tell you like, man, the Rams have a major advantage with their offense going against the Bears defense. I mean,
Yes.
The Bears 29th in yards per carry allowed on defense. Only 6 teams have fewer sacks than the Bears 35. So that tells you Matthew Stafford can have a clean pocket, can have time to throw, can stay vertical. If 32 passing touchdowns allowed, that's including the playoffs. So the worst defense of the wild card round, the second worst rushing offense in the wild card round by EPA. They lost the turnover battle to the Packers. They had the worst rushing success rate of the wild card round. The Rams had the second best rushing success rate in the first round at over 51%, close to 52%. And then also they the worst run defense left in the playoffs. And I think, too, you look at Matthew Stafford, you talk about that. Now he's thrown 49 touchdowns this season in 18 games. The Bears have allowed 36 passing touchdowns in 18 games when you include the playoffs. I think the best way to describe this, though, is in what's so frustrating and we can go every which way as far as predictions and previews and things like that. But we know that this is a very talented Rams football team that can win against anyone, that can beat anyone, but they can also find ways to lose games. No team in the NFL has lost games in wilder, more insane, more unpredictable fashion than the Rams. And then no team has won games in more insane, unpredictable fashion than the Chicago Bears. And somehow, some way, these two teams are playing in the playoffs. So rip up all the notes, rip up all the stats, rip up all the predictions, right? Let's just play some football and let's see what happens.
I think you took the thought right out of my head, because I think if this were just played on a computer and the variables were eliminated and it was just, we're really good at this against a team that's not very good at that, the Rams would win the game far more often than they wouldn't. But you just said the most important thing. The Bears are weird in a good way. The Bears are weird in a sense that despite being behind very late in games, or were very late in the fourth quarter at 7 wins, despite being behind at the 2-minute warning, they find a way to pull rabbits out of their hat, not once or twice, but frequently. The Rams are kind of the opposite of that. They're a team that has dominated games for long stretches of time, and then they just kind of, I don't want to say fall asleep, because I think that means like a lack of effort or attention to detail, which I don't think it's that. I just think it's stuff happens, and all of a sudden what's working wasn't working, a special teams mishap, a busted play, and all of a sudden it's, hey, we had a 16-point lead 5 minutes ago. What happened to it? And it's gone. A 2-point conversion that gets ruled back. Like, what just happened? Weird stuff happens against the Rams. So you put those two things together, and I think it becomes where maybe it was a 65-35 tilt towards the Rams, brings it more towards a 55-45 tilt towards the Rams. It's just a really weird combination of the Rams are a little unlucky in a weird way, and the Rams are pretty lucky, or I should say the Bears are pretty lucky in a good way. And those two things together is concerning. It is.
And Travis, I think when you look at those variables too, that's when you kind of focus on, I think, the things that are kind of the absolutes when you think that, hey, okay, if these guys do what they do at their standard level, then you feel like you have an advantage, right? And I want to give game balls. Like if this is Sunday, if this is Monday, we're doing the show, I would love to give game balls to every single member of that defensive line, of that front seven, because if those guys have a positive day, if those guys are the players that we know they are, Kobe Turner and Jared Verse and Byron Young and Braden Fisk and the rest of that line, Poona Ford, I think that you're going to win this game potentially comfortably just because Caleb Williams is such a high variance quarterback. And I look back and I see some of those throws he made, the 4th and 8 again. It's a breathtaking throw that not a lot of guys can make as far as throwing across your body, out of structure, the arm strength. And he kind of just has that, like, screw it. Someone's down there somewhere, right?
Yeah.
So I love that about Caleb Williams. And that's the thing, though. If you pressure him, he becomes one of the worst starting quarterbacks in the NFL. When you pressure Caleb Williams and you keep him in the pocket, that's the major difference. He's 5.5 yards per attempt when he's pressured. That's 29th among qualified quarterbacks. A 65.9 passer rating when he's pressured. That's 28. So if those guys have a good day at the office, the Rams defensive line, I think it's going to go a long way to helping them win this football game.
Yeah, he's hard to sack, but he's easy to get pressure on, right? Like he doesn't get sacked a lot, but if you can contain him and make him, make decisions on a timeline that he doesn't want to, but at the same time, don't let him get out of the pocket and extend plays, because we know how vulnerable the Rams secondary can be, and his ability to extend plays with his legs and find people like that play you mentioned, that gives me pause. Make him move, but don't make him extend plays a ton. I think it's a tough needle to thread, but I think that's what they need to do, because if he's under duress, that's good for the Rams. But the longer the Rams secondary has to cover, that's bad for the Rams. So if they can get him on the ground, but he's a very hard quarterback to sack. But that throw that we talked about, the one that made us all go, holy smoke, did you see that? That ball's going to get picked off about half the time too. So the Rams have some opportunities to make some plays if he does try some, hero stuff like that.
I will say this, Travis. I can't live with Caleb Williams beating my NFL team. Like ABC, anyone but Caleb. Like I can't have that. I can't have Caleb Williams end my season. Like I just want to put that out there. So Rams win for Doug McCain. Like, I mean, I hope that
How about Caleb Williams gets intercepted by Quentin Lake to end the game? Does that work for you?
That is chef's kiss. All right. That would be, I kind of prefer an Anthony Barr versus Matt Barkley situation, knock him out of the game. First play. No, of course, I'm only kidding. It should be a really good game. By the way, we'll find out what nail polish he'll be wearing. And also coming up next, we're going to be finding out what Rams uniform set they will be wearing. And it's definitely a good omen. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
NFL season is in the midst of the very best part, and there's nothing like being at the game. We're talking crowd noise, energy, cheering alongside our fellow fans. Watching at home is great, don't get me wrong, but being in the stadium, totally different deal. And the frustrating part has always been actually getting your hands on the tickets, right? Waiting in queues, dealing with logins, watching prices change right at checkout. I hate that, by the way. That's why the Gametime app gives the advantage back to us, the fans. It's the hack for unlocking amazing NFL tickets and experiences in just a few taps. I really like, you've heard me say this for weeks, months, years, that I love on the Gametime app that the fees are included up front so that the price you see is exactly what you pay. If you've been on some of these other places, you'll see something you like, click, and you go to checkout, and you're like, it's not even close to where you started. Never at Gametime. And knowing the tickets are backed by the Gametime guarantee gives you that peace of mind that's always fantastic as well. So take the guesswork out of buying NFL tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNFL, that's LOCKEDON NFL, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today and get back to being there live. And the division round is here, and FanDuel is officially in playoff mode, which means every game day during the NFL playoffs, FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get in on the action, because right now, every NFL playoff game day, FanDuel users get a profit boost pack waiting for you inside the app. Each game day, you'll see a pack loaded with multiple profit boosts you can apply to the bets you like the most. The boost, it gives you more juice on the bets you already like instead of forcing you to bet something new. So every play feels bigger, and the boosts, they make your bets feel that way too. So you make your picks, then apply your profit boost to go even bigger payouts while the playoffs are rolling. Visit FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day.
And welcome back to Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, Travis, so the uniforms have been revealed that the Rams are going to wear, and they're going with the white jerseys, the royal pants, and the royal socks. And that has been a very good uniform set as far as wins this year. The Rams are 4-0 in their white and blue set this season. So hopefully they go 5-0.
Yeah, no, I like that. I like the white on the road. I don't love it when they pair it with the white pants. We've been over this before. I love it with the blue pants. I like the helmet in the snow. It's going to look good. And this is going to be a snow game that goes differently than the snow game we saw in Philadelphia last year. I have a very good feeling about it.
I love that. Wow, that's a sneaky prediction there by Travis. All right, how about Sean McVay? I want to get your thoughts real quick. Do some couple quick ones before we head out of here. Sean McVay and Matt LaFleur, the relationship they have. Sean McVay was asked from a reporter if he was going to talk to Matt LaFleur, and Sean McVay said with a smile that we watched the tape and we're friends, and he said, what do you think? So we know that Ben Johnson and Matt LaFleur, pretty icy there. Some of the things that Ben Johnson has said and his explicitive remarks towards the Green Bay Packers and that quick handshake, it feels like this is some type of additional advantage.
It's interesting. Look, Ben Johnson's done a great job. He's done, something that I think is impossible. He made a Chicago quarterback look really good, and he's won a bunch of games. So credit to him for that. That NFL coaching circuit, the head coaches, it's a pretty small circle of people, and they're all pretty friendly with one another, competitive against one another to be sure, but it's pretty rare to see what Ben Johnson did with Matt LaFleur and the Packers. We know Matt LaFleur comes from the McVay tree, so I would imagine Sean McVay kind of, he noted it, he saw it, he made sure that he's aware of it, and I don't think Sean McVay is going to do anything to embarrass anybody given an opportunity, but I'm also sure that he's fully aware of what went down, and Matt LaFleur is one of his guys.
Yeah, he is. And Kevin Dotson, by the way, is going to be back, and Kevin Dotson said he's going to get some get back on the Seattle Seahawks. And I think what makes this pretty cool is the fact that, hey, there is an opportunity for that. And Derek Hall stepped on Kevin Dotson's calf, and he wasn't ejected from that game. He was ultimately suspended for Week 17. And Kevin Dotson said that he is going to get my get back at some point. So I love the attitude back on line for Kevin Dotson.
Can you imagine if Kevin Dotson said, I know what happened and I'm going to make sure that I square that account? I don't think I'd sleep again for the rest of my life knowing that he was coming for me. I don't need that in my life.
Exactly. He would not. But I got the Rams winning. Give me the Rams 28-20. 28-20. Not going to go double digits. We'll see how the weather goes. I've seen some wild predictions, and I've seen a lot. I've seen people have the Bears scoring over 30. This one's tough to call just because of that extra element. I just think real quick here, this team is too much of a special roster to lose to a team like the Chicago Bears. It feels like the Rams need to face the Seahawks once again. The Rams need to face the 49ers potentially once again. And I look at it as Caleb Williams has his whole career in front of him. This is truly the best individual season for a future Hall of Famer in Matthew Stafford. And those types of careers aren't supposed to end in the divisional round against a team like the Chicago Bears.
I'm with you. I think that the script writers, to use the terminology that we're all familiar with now, I think that the Rams against an NFC West opponent, Matthew Stafford, that's a better script. The Bears are good. The Bears have that. They've got that thing that allows them to win close games. I think your score would make me more comfortable because that doesn't feel like it's, a possession here or there. But I really do think it comes down to a kick. I think it comes down to a special teams play. I hope that the Rams offense is on the field at the end of the game. I know that means that they potentially could be behind, but if you said to me, same scenarios you had in Carolina, Matthew Stafford's got the ball again, I will take it. I think it's going to be close. I think I'll take the Rams like 30-27, something in that range. I think it's going to be a very, very close game.
Yeah, it should be very exciting. We're going to be here to break it down here on Locked On Rams. So another reminder, join the Everyday Listeners Club. We'll see you guys in the Discord. Maybe Travis will join at some point. We'll see what's up. We could do like a Travis AMA or something like Reddit style. Or we'll get to like AI person.
There you go. Yeah, bot.
Your screen, it could be like Tutu number 1 fan, number 5, right? Something like that.
Somebody at Hollywood Park Casino, when we were doing our show there last week, came up and said, I just wanted to shake hands with the biggest Tutu Atwell fan on the planet. So that made me laugh.
Hey, man, I love it, man. All right, but that's going to do it for this episode of Locked On Rams. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. And you can follow the People's Champ, Mr. Travis Rogers, at Travis Rogers. And until next time, whose house? It's Locked On Rams house.